going to call the meeting to order. This is a work session for the Lodging Tax Advisory Board on the budget.
First.
No, we do not have to call roll. We don't have to do minutes or any of that. This is just a work session. That's what Desiree was telling me. So we're good to go.
Good for me.
Yeah. I don't know if Jason's going to join us. Hopefully he does. But if he doesn't, I do have his notes that he's already sent me.
I might take notes anyway, just in case people need a reference. I'll just put it in as a work session.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
to
we don't
me
need to
if
vote
you-
on
if you
approve
would
them or
like to.
whatever.
Yeah.
I have not had a chance
So
to.
we're a couple of things.
You're colorful today.
She's frozen.
Thank you. It's the Trinidad shirt.
Oh.
Who's your daddy-o? I bet it's what it says.
Yeah, on the back, Trinidad.
Yep.
So when were you with the congressman? That picture.
I've been I've been pretty active in politics for, I don't know, 10
Hey,
years or
Jason.
so, and I went to a conference and got our picture taken with him, Brett Baer, years ago, Carly Fiorini, and I got one with Mike Pence. So.
Cool. Yeah, I like both those guys. So,
Little side note before we dive in.
They were a great book.
I heard a little scuttlebutt that certain individuals at the city may be trying to eliminate boards entirely. So we should stay tuned into that. I think our board.
I've also heard that.
I think our board in particular is extremely important in terms of oversight, and
well, ours is dictated by ordinance, though, right?
yeah, but they could strike it. But that would have to go through council. So just something we should stay tuned into and show up to any meetings if we have an opportunity to provide feedback. So
Cool.
Well, I think there are too many boards, but
yeah, I think the city's perspective is money's extremely tight. They don't want citizens dictating what they're spending it on. But we're an advisory board. We don't dictate anything. So.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Just wanted to put it out there so everyone's
For the
aware.
info. So I don't have a copy. Let me see if I can.
this is the final proposal.
There's blank spaces.
Oh, okay, I see 'em.
So this is okay, so this entire process has been a learning opportunity. This is not what I do. I have not actually participated in this process before, so I got a lot of input from people who wanted us to turn this in. What do you want it to look like? What are we supposed to be spending it on? So I had a meeting with Cheryl, and we went through the expenses of this year, and that's where we looked at where the money went, and we decided, are we going to keep that or are we not? There's a lot of things that were on our expenses for this year that are not here. But this is the ones that we kind of pulled out that we might want to keep and put budget for, and then made some room in other places. One of the things that I removed was the state vacation guide ad for $15,000, and that's because we as a board decided not to do that, and that's money that's going to go to the website rebuild. So for this year, so we will not need it for next year's budget at all. So I took it out and added it to the marketing expenses line. The other sustainable tourism marketing, I have here the DIQ contract for $60. The Raton Visitor Guide, we have a page ad in there that costs $705. The architectural tour, that is the walking tour that is downtown. That we pay a yearly fee for $348 to keep it going. Radio advertising, there is $6,000, and that's a $5,000 yearly contract. Plus, this past year we had a few extra expenses for radio that added up to just under $1,000, so we added that to the budget for next year. Kiosks, $4,000. That is a contract that we're locked into until 2027, so we can't change that until 2027. Alpha Maps, that's new. I don't think that is the exact program that we had previously. I was told it was a different one, but if we would like to do Alpha Maps, We did put that into the budget for the year.
That's cheap.
I got that from Cheryl for expenses when they pay for the other one, so I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just. That'd
But
be great if it's only $1,000. Yeah.
anything that wasn't used specifically in those lines out of the 140,000 that we have will be put into the marketing expenses TBD, which is just that's kind of what our budget is for DIQ for next year. So when we give DIQ, here's what we have for next year. That would be the amount of money that they would have to work with for the year.
So how much do they get total with what they have to work with and
Their contract.
It's 120, almost 128,000. So 60K is their retainer, and then that TBD expenses. That's things like the social ads.
That's what I
So
thought.
yeah, so they're paid. Things they're going out and paying for would be in that kind of slush fund.
And so we still need to decide if we want to do a second year.
Yeah. Which I would personally, I think I'd be in favor of. I think they could. I'm not like 100% satisfied. I give them like maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10. But now that, especially that they've built kind of the groundwork, I'd like to give them at least one more year to really keep running, you know.
That's how I feel too. The first year was all about learning. They have to learn how to work within Trinidad. Let's give them another year to see if they figured it out. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Well, we were a little bit difficult to work with too, just because of confusion with staff and all the different things. And yeah, second year would give them, hopefully it'd be much more productive. So.
Let's see. Just to finish going through this. The next section, which is 20% of the budget, is personnel and expenses related to tourism, but not limited to the Welcome Center and Convention Center Visitor Bureau. That 80,000 is our contribution to wages, is how it was told. Any other costs for those would come out of the general fund. So the general fund gives like a portion and we give a portion. The $80,000 barely covers the wages.
Yeah.
The next one is maintenance, improvement, and development of recreational facilities and programs. Off the top, the Santa Fe Trail Days, they have $60,000 put to the side. We fully financed Santa Fe Trail Days this year. I think said it came like between $40,000 and $50,000 total. The reason it is up some is because they would like to have traditional carnival rides next year, which are more expensive than the carnival rides that they had this year.
Who's they?
The city. That's the input I got.
Okay, Ashley, but I thought it came up in our last meeting. Do we know what many sponsorships there were for Santa Fe Trail Days, or were there any?
She said there was like they got like $10,000-$15,000 back in sponsorships, and I want to say whatever funds they were able to collect for whatever they were doing out there.
Okay, so maybe the net was 40,000.
So that leaves 60,000 between Winterfest and Trails
Yes.
Development.
Winterfest. Did you have because I remember I told you I was going to lean on you for an estimate for Winterfest.
Yeah,
I
we
figured
got
it
a
was
total
far less.
21,000, and we probably got 6,000, 8,000 back in sponsorships. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Okay.
So if we ask them to take on Winterfest, we'll have to give them a chunk of money for that.
Yes, and we didn't work hard on sponsorships last year, and there was a big opportunity to do that.
Who's going to be in charge of those?
The city. So that the money that we give them for Santa Fe Trail Days and Winterfest would help cover probably mostly the cost of actually getting what we needed for supplies and the overtime to pay city staff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I put it in my notes before about Santa Fe Trail Days, but I'm not in support of anywhere near giving them that much money.
I understand that. But they're not going to be able to do it on $20,000. So if we can say we won't give you all that money, but then we might not have a Santa Fe Trail Days. Is what my concern is, because Santa Fe Trail Days is our.
In the Chronicle that they spent $170,000 on that event last year. You can look it up. So they took 75 of it, I think, from our budget, and the rest they paid for it from other ways, sponsorships. The city, but yeah, 60 grand is way too much money to take from our budget to put on an event that doesn't bring in tourism.
And how do you know it doesn't bring in tourism?
I mean, they didn't start advertising. They didn't even announce it until less than 30 days before the event. It wasn't advertised anywhere except for the actual city page. There was no attempts to advertise it outside of regionally. I spoke with hoteliers. They said it was like an average night, like there was no uptick in anything. We don't have any other ways to manage metrics like that, and that's the point of having Alpha Maps in. But I think that was a very regional event, and there was no efforts to make it something that brought in actual tourism. So that's why I don't support that much. That's just way too much. We could fund the rest of all of the events for the rest of the year for the
Actually,
same amount,
that
and
is
that would have substantially
a pocket of
helped
money
the
that we don't have for events. Like, that's recreational facilities and programs. Like, I think last year we took maybe the fishing festival out of that.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we're kind of bending that category for Trail Days. It should be a cultural event. I'm not opposed to funding it personally, because I do think doing some things for the local audience is appropriate under the current ordinance. It's also the type of thing that people, when you're like, oh, this is paid out of lodging taxes, folks who went down to Santa Fe Trail Days and had a great time will be like, wow, I love lodging taxes. Yes, I'm not opposed to giving them the money, but I do think that's not the appropriate bucket. And so it's kind of like, well, that's the biggest chunk of change, so we'll pull it out of there. But it's not a recreational event. It's more of a cultural event, in my opinion.
Well, it also is one of those things was never really promoted real well, because when it was under the previous management, the chamber, and I think it might be able to be promoted into something that I don't know. I don't have a good. You got some answers from people that should have seen benefit of it. It needs to be promoted better.
It's a next regional event, and that's fine, but I just think coming from our budget, it should have at least some correlation to tourism. Everything else that we fund for festivals has at least some correlation to tourism.
Isn't it just a matter of marketing further out?
Well, when we did the was it the bicentennial or whatever, the big one that the city actually took over on our tourism did, we had a much bigger attendance because it was promoted, and with vendors and with bringing in Comanche Indian speakers and all the different things that were brought in. It could be done better, but it would have to be promoted to be worth continuing to fund it.
Hey, one note on Winterfest, just to jump back to Winterfest, the light show that Brett Ferris did, that came out of another city budget. It didn't come out of the Winterfest budget, just FYI. So that's a question for Desiree, how much they paid Awestruck.
There is an email from Desiree that had a lot of good information in it. I got it maybe last week. It's called SFT Day Figures, and there's a spreadsheet in there with a lot of the spending that they did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of what we asked her to send us, whatever Or that when
Oh,
we were
yeah.
talking about it?
That's got the sponsorship info in it as well.
Yeah.
So 14,000 in sponsorships, ticket sales 14,300, and then 21,733 came from first quarter marijuana funds.
It is showing on the very first line in that spreadsheet that Awestruck for Winterfest was paid $13,800 from our budget.
Okay.
Yes, and the grand total for the event was 109,000.
That includes the Awestruck stuff.
That's everything.
That was not that same time period, wasn't it? Like the Awestruck was
Yeah,
for
just for Santa Fe Trail
Winterfest.
Days on the date. So
Oh,
that would be for Winterfest.
You're right. Yeah. I mean,
So I think there's a lot of good information here where money was kind of spent without bringing it to the board for a vote, and where we wonder where our budget went, and a lot of that is
right.
explained in here.
Oh yeah, this full thing, 108 or 109-ish thousand. That is everything for the year to date. That is coming out of the fund, it appears. So
And there's
It doesn't
two
say
more
which
entries
tourism.
further down, and I think they bought projectors from them.
Yeah.
And that was the intent, is to have those projectors so we could do a lot of that ourselves.
Reallocate expenses. It looks like they reallocated the Awestruck for Cinco de Mayo and Winterfest about halfway down that first page.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know.
They use those projectors to project lights for 2 other festivals.
Right, but if you look at 531, it says to reallocate, and there's like a $2,500 and a $29,000, almost $30,000 amount in there.
those are debits, though.
Yeah, those were.
So they're putting money back in
Yeah, I'm wondering where they took it from.
somewhere else.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
Creative accounting.
There's another one that they did a reverse Paul Velasquez, but then they put it back in there. Yeah.
That's a band
I
for
don't know.
Trail Days.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, unfortunately, we don't have the budget in our cultural events to fund Santa Fe Trail Days and Winterfest. So, what would we like to do here, folks? I'm open to suggestions, comments. Do you want to strike them and just make the whole 120 for trails development?
You know, some of that could still be reserved. I don't think we need the whole 120 for trails development. I'm not certain where the city is planning to fund these new trails on the city parcel from. It sounds like that is in progress. Like there's a guy out here working on it, but we haven't heard any updates on it. So my assumption is that it's coming out of the capital fund and not from this portion of lodging tax. But I don't want Trail Days to die on the vine. I do want to see more capital project type improvements coming out of this budget. Real concrete, everlasting things, improvements to the city. And that's our piece of the pie where we can do that.
I think I'm gonna change that trails development to trails and recreational development.
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate.
Can I spitball an idea? As part of VistaWorks, can they create like a sponsorship packet, like a plug-and-play sponsorship packet, so instead of relying on city funds, we could get a lot more people to be sponsoring events? So they create a sponsorship packet that we can just put in the graphics or put in the details of what festival's coming up. And then the city or whoever can use those sponsorship packets to go out and get sponsorships.
I tell you,
Sure
we
they
can
can.
ask them.
It would just take away from marketing time, or it would be an additional project, but I'm sure they can do anything we want.
It would be cheaper than allocating money from our budget by giving people sponsorship packets that show them actual value for their dollar and might entice more sponsorships.
Yep. No,
But it's
that's,
taking it out of our pocket. You like it?
yeah, that's a good idea.
I have a note to ask them about it.
Okay.
So, do we want to allocate funds for Santa Fe Trail Days and Winterfest?
I think we need to.
Okay. How much? I'm not an expert and I did this, so this is not set in stone. This is flexible. If I've forgotten anything, let me know. So let's do Winterfest.
We're on the same document that you sent to me.
Yes, the only thing that's off are the state vacation guide ad. I took that off, and then I took off the photo contests as well.
Okay.
I think that's the only changes I made to it, though.
Okay.
So Winterfest, you said they spent 21 and some change.
Yep.
Do we want to do 10? Do we want to do 20? Do we want to do 5?
Well, $11,000 of the budget came from Warfano County, and I don't know if Warfano County still wants to partner.
I would say we
Because-
should maybe plan it without the partnership. And then if
Okay.
they do partner, that's money that goes back to the fund, the savings
Yep.
account.
I would say 10, but here's what we also did. When we created those sponsorship packets, we gave World Journal a free sponsorship because they helped in the planning. So just extending that sponsorship idea further, if we have VistaWorks put together a plug-and-play sponsorship packet, we solicit people who want to help us get sponsorships, and to do that, in trade, we give them a sponsorship. You know what I'm saying? So if you give them a sponsor, hey, if you get 5 sponsors for this, we'll give you $1,000 level sponsorship, something like that. So that way we're not burdening the city staff for going out and getting sponsorships. Make sense? So I would say 10,000 for.
Has the city staff expressed an interest in doing Winterfest, like Santa Fe Trail Days? Are we just telling them, oh yeah, here's this?
We're going to bring it to council. Or it's been suggested to council. I'm going to remind Desiree.
Yeah, they haven't given an answer, right?
I'm going to go down and talk to Desiree and have her remind them.
Okay. Because I
See what
just
we
shut
need to
off
do.
the email.
Yeah. All right. So 10,000?
For Winterfest?
Okay.
And
Santa Fe Trail?
Yeah. You know what I'm wondering? If we think about the stuff on the decision matrix, we said, is this during a season that really needs festivals? And Santa Fe Trail Days is during the summer, and there's a lot of festivals that go on. Everybody's out doing stuff, right? So would we want to allocate more towards Winterfest than we do Santa Fe Trail Days? Because Winterfest is during kind of the dead season, right? When we need to pull in more tourists.
What do you think?
Or when the businesses want more business.
Thoughts, guys? This is not easy.
No.
I've been struggling with this.
Yeah, it's never easy.
It's been an interesting few weeks.
Yeah, thanks for doing the
No,
groundwork.
no, you're fine. It's just, ugh. I'm like, wait, you want me to what? I don't know. So what would you be thinking, like 20?
No, well, I don't know, maybe 15 for Winterfest and 10 for Santa Fe Trail Days, something like that, just so it's in line with what we kind of decided our, how we're weighting decisions. And do we actually want to use that matrix as a test run for these two events?
No?
I mean, we could look at it if we think it's going to help our decision making. I mean, they are both existing events, so like they have that inertia, but we have two versions of the matrix, right? Like one's for returning events.
Yeah. I know I did one for the first time events. I'm not sure I finished the one for the second time events, but that's not hard to do.
Enter the matrix. Oh yeah, I see the first time of it.
Yeah, Joe, I sent you a blank one.
So we have basically 120,000 in that
Yes,
line item.
according to the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we did 30, 30, and 30,
Well,
that
it'd
would
be
leave-
30, 30, and then whatever's left goes in the bottom bucket.
well, yeah, or reserve. I'd be okay with that. Just
No,
make them
you're-
even and figure it out.
No reserve. We spend every dollar because that's how you end up getting your budget cut.
Well, we'll spend it, but
Use it or
decide later.
you know,
Decide
yeah,
later where to
decide
put
later.
it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
really,
mean, general category is fine. That's how that last bit is going to be in terms of like trail/rec.
Yeah.
and then I want to do our best to come up with plenty of projects to use up whatever's in there.
Yes.
And specific, here's
Well, there's-
here's the first project we're bringing, not
There should
like
still be
said,
money
they don't need
in
options, they just need
that
not
sock.
a whole lot.
That sock.
The reserve
Yeah.
fund.
That
They spent a lot of
Yeah, I believe they said it's pretty well
pretty
settled.
much gone.
Yeah.
And that was
Cheryl said we're not going to spend any more. What we have, we're going to keep.
that was COVID's year.
So I don't know. What I'm hearing is Jason's not in favor of trail days.
Just not 60.
Not at 60.
No, I think half of that would be.
Yeah, I just went with what they had out of the budget last year, and then a little bit extra to upgrade the rides.
Well, if they want more, they're gonna come get it anyway.
Yeah.
So
They're going to do what they want.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to find the article on Chronicle where it kind of broke down where they got that budget from, but if they want to put on a $170,000 festival, they shouldn't take that much from our budget, and they should be able to allocate it somehow from city funds, and they did that partially last year. I just can't find it off the top of my head, so I say we reduce it from ours in the 20 to 30 range, and then they can come take it if they want.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I would rather see this category going towards development and maintenance of facilities. We also had a lot of requests for programming, youth sports in particular. So if we can launch a seasonal sports program out of this, I think that would be a huge win, and people would.
One
want
thing I
that.
did find out was the playground equipment, the parks, the money to fix those things comes from the lottery fund, not the tourism fund.
Well, this new ordinance muddies the waters on that stuff because we have this category that is basically it's like they need to supplement those other funds because the city's broke. So they rewrote this ordinance because the lodging fund is like their biggest cash cow outside of marijuana. So that's also why we're seeing them come in and just be like, oh, we'll just get a little bit of that sweet lodging
Yeah,
money.
hopefully that is stopped. Yeah, I mean,
It's gonna get worse
you
next year.
think so?
Yeah, based on everything we've heard about city's finances, absolutely going to get worse. And especially if we do double it, it's going to be dollar signs in people's eyes.
Well, it'd be a little easier to handle if we double it.
I'm not
But there's
confident
still a
on
lot
that
of
this
money.
year.
Oh, stop it! Be positive.
We got a citizens committee that's going to put out a huge promotional push in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. And then the subtle radio stuff and some other things. So.
I think Pat might have changed his tune on that, but that's off topic.
Okay,
That's off topic.
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, okay, well, I think that sounds good. And cut that in half to 30. What about Winterfest? We're somewhere in the 10 to 20 range. That still leaves the same amount in terms of the remaining bucket then.
Yeah.
I guess maybe a little more.
How much did you decide for Santa Fe Trail Days?
30.
30, and I would say 30 for
30.
Winterfest. Just try to look at both of them with the same potential. But
What do you think?
30 and 30.
I do think, well, I don't know. Maybe it's not true. I was going to say Winterfest is always going to be smaller scale, but maybe not. I mean, just by nature of it being winter. Like,
For
it's not
now,
going to
yeah.
sprawl over 3 blocks and multiple days in the same way. But maybe not. You know, should dream big on it, I guess.
That's a Winterfest planning meeting. See, last year they shut down a section of Main Street. I'm wondering why we could just
Wasn't it
go
2
down
days
that
of-
alley
Wasn't it 2 days?
to the park on Main Street.
Yeah. it was 2
Winterfest
days,
was,
And this year, we are planning on Martin Luther King weekend, it can be 3.
what'd she say?
This year it's
This year it'd be
being
3.
planned on Martin Luther King Day weekend. It'd be 3 days, but it'd be like 1 day in Trinidad, 1 day in Walsenburg, 1 day somewhere else. Oh, I think we lost them.
Must be on our end because we lost it.
Coming back. Come on back.
It's like those movies where, you know, the Pentagon all goes dark, you know, all the computers go dark. What happened?
Says we're connected.
Yep, maybe they just have to reconnect.
Well, we don't have our video going here either.
I'm very flexible on whatever the majority decides.
I'm letting y'all do the number system. I did my part. You guys give me the numbers now.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Maybe it's just rebooting.
Cyber attack.
Oh no!
This is the guest network. I think I have it saved. Nope. I have the staff network saved. Wow. That's annoying. Let's see if they're
The
down.
internet in Trinidad is horrible.
Oh yeah.
It's daily.
I'm on CCON.
Desiree's down at her desk, I think. If
Yeah.
just holler, Des.
just decimated so much.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. Every year, I leave and go somewhere and stay for a couple of days while a hurricane went through.
I mean, I've been around tornadoes and things like that.
He thinks it's coming back. Oh, we are back.
It didn't take, so you gotta start
There you
from
go.
scratch again.
Hi guys.
Yep, I got that.
Alright, looking into it.
We had 3 left over that they froze, and I got my first bill 3 years ago. I guess it had been stuck in a freezer sitting behind ice cream or something, and suddenly they started billing for it. I'm like,
They were sending us monthly bills.
okay, well, I didn't.
Good, over now?
Hi.
We're back.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay, so Winterfest. That's where we left off. Final number.
You want me to send out the matrix to each person and see how we come back with that as a test run? And do you like the idea of the Winterfest might have a higher dollar attached to it because it's during a season when we need more festivals?
Well, I would say, Amanda, since we have you right here, you know, we allocated, well, we didn't allocate, 10K was allocated to you from our budget, you know, before our board formed. So what would you use the additional funds for next year? Like what's your idea for it, you know?
A lot more winter games. I think we did use the Geo, whatever it was that we were talking about earlier, where it shows up on people's phones when they're coming by. We used that a little bit, but if you remember, we didn't even start promoting the thing until a month before it happened.
Yeah.
Which I guess we're kind of going to be stuck in this same position anyway, because it's October.
Oh my god.
There's still plenty of things to get ahead of that.
Well, yeah, the city has to agree to take it on too, and assign people to it. And so
We'll
I
just,
don't know.
we'll
I
just
don't
tell
know
them they
how
already
that goes.
decided.
Let's see.
Nothing
when's
happens here quickly.
Yeah.
February. Let's see. When is? Oh, that's in January. Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm definitely comfortable supporting it. Maybe something similar to last year. I don't know if it needs to go on the same level as Santa Fe Trail Days, where you know the expenses are kind of obvious. Maybe it could ramp up to that if there's like a successful second year, and maybe we pledge something similar, or maybe a little bit more than last year. And then it could grow into something more, where maybe it's on par or even surpasses that. Just kind of based on how it goes, how are people coming to it, do a good job promoting it, that kind of stuff.
So I have a question.
That's just
Last year you said that Huerfano County actually put in half, and we put in half, so about $20,000.
They put in
came from us,
11,000,
came
we
from-
put in 10, yeah.
So if they don't, since we don't know for sure if they're going to be contributing to the event, should we plan that they would not contribute? And then,
I would.
so maybe 20, and then if we don't use it all, great. But I don't know.
I like that.
What do you think? Oh, you can't tell I'm looking at you. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think part of, you tell me if I'm wrong, Amanda, but you probably use like about half the funding to go towards Trinidad stuff and half to go towards Huerfano.
Yeah, and a lot of it was used combination for marketing and advertising. For both areas.
Could we lean on DIQ more for that? We're kind of
We
hitting
did
our...
lean on them a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have a chance really this year.
But it was early for them.
It was
this
early,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very early.
So we may be able to offset some of that. We're kind of hitting our own budget still, but it's coming out of this top level marketing instead of from the recreational programming. So yeah, I'm along the same lines as Jason. Like I already said, I would like to leave a large chunk of change for actual facility development and maintenance here. So that's my official opinion.
Maybe we allocate a smaller amount right now, and if you have a specific need, or they have a specific need for it, they could come back to us at a later date and request that, so we can leave more budget for what it's more appropriate for. And then if they're like, okay, we need another $5,000 to book this headlining band or to do something, then maybe that would make more sense.
It sounds good.
So give me a number.
20?
20. That's what I've heard.
10, 15, 20?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking 15.
I would think at 15 as well. I think that seems okay to start.
That's not that bad. That's not that far from 20. Want to do 15
No, I'm fine.
instead?
I'm fine with 15. You were asking, and
Oh, no. I love your input. Thank you.
Ashley?
I'm good with what.
well, the idea that they can
15
come
is
back
fine.
if they need more and they
Okay.
can justify it, then really
So let's do
15 is good.
15, and then whatever's left, that leaves 45.
85.
Yeah, something like that. 85. 85. No, 8.
75. Wait.
I can't math.
Yeah, I'm a writer, not a mathematician.
All right. I'll get a calculator and
Yeah,
check
it's
it.
75.
Okay. All right. So that's good on that one. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that might be put into that category that I don't have here?
So right now we expanded that development to trails and recreational facilities development. I don't know if we want to have a separate line for programming. In the end,
I was just going to put recreational development.
okay.
Like that could include facilities, that could include programming, anything that's
Anything
recreational. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
If we want to blow that out with extra time here, we can.
We're not doing too bad. Well, if you think of anything, we can come back to it. The next one was support of art and cultural events, programs, and facilities. That we just said event funding awarded via qualifying application, and that's that whole 40,000. So if we parcel out 5 at a time, that's what,
The 8 events.
8 events.
And that, are we gonna delineate between a first time event gets 5,000, second time gets 2,500? That's the top end, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, I see how that would go, but like, say A.R. Mitchell, would they qualify for that? So like, if they come for something for 5,000, if they come back the next year for something, would that be 2,500, or would we be willing to give them another 5,000 that year?
Okay, well, what if we then, if we want to still use the decision matrix, we can use it all for the same, but the only difference would be, if this is a second time event, do we have AlphaMax data? And that can increase the amount we give a second time event. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it's not a limit on first time versus second time, it's how well, if it performed well, then the amount we give them would increase. And performed well, I mean the AlphaMax, right? That's, Jason, what the AlphaMax would do, it would tell us.
It is. I don't know if the data will work retroactively. I think so. I think they basically just have it and you're paying for access to it.
Yeah,
But I'm not
should
100% clear.
Should be more than just real time, you would think.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be limited to that tool either. If they're keeping count, like say we're talking about the Mitchell as an example, if they have like tallies from their like event opening days and stuff, that's fine if they're keeping a general head count. I think that's acceptable.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say any scoring that weights, if you're reporting to us, I'm more inclined to give you more money, period.
I did touch on the reporting aspect of that with them as well, and they're going to break down. They're going to be a little more have more accountability for the reporting part of the process, because so far they really haven't been getting, like some people will give, say Lee Lopez, she'll turn in a document that has everything that you ever would think
The
to see.
part in it.
And then some people are like, yeah, we had some people show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So we're looking for more of in-depth reporting at the end of that, and city staff is on board with that too. So when we get after an event, the thought process is whoever our liaison with would follow up with them and say, okay, give me your report. And if the report is not what we were looking for, they would then go back to them and be like, okay, this is not sufficient, we need a better report. Or maybe that would be part of what we look at the next year if they came back. Well, your report wasn't very detailed, or we could have some accountability for that as well.
I love that, because over the past years when they gave out grants, they told them they wanted accounting at the end on how you spent the money, and nobody ever gave anything like that. So
It's
this
just nobody was
incentivizes-
following up. So we just have to make sure that we follow up. If we put pressure on them, they'll put pressure on them. So that one was easy. Just like, okay, we can have event funding. The last was any above purposes or purposes related to the impacts of tourism, as the city council may determine. That is like a miscellaneous section. Tour Colorado membership is in there. That's $450 a year. Website hosting, that's a yearly fee for the people that actually have the site that we put the
Is that going to
website on.
change or go up? Because didn't we move it to DIQ's hosting already when we had that outage?
That was
We
the
did.
number that they had. Yeah. Do
So
we
that's
have a
from-
number for them?
That's from last year's.
Can I ask a question about hosting? I remember a couple of meetings ago, both Jason and you, Joe, you were like, hosting, that's exorbitant for that kind of price. What is the difference between hosting, City of Trinidad, their website, or the tourism website? What's the difference between hosting it on someplace like GoDaddy versus one of these places that's so expensive? What other value do you get? Because obviously, what we had it on, and it went down for 3 weeks. If you want to say one of the values is it never goes down, the site never goes down, well, that's BS. So what is the benefit of having it on one of these very expensive hosting plans?
Mostly what you're paying for with DIQ is them to take care of it. There's,
Oh,
there-
so that includes the maintenance and everything?
It does,
Updates
yeah.
and maintenance?
If it goes down, and we call up DIQ and they get it fixed.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
other,
ultimately with any
Yeah.
other host provider, it should be the same. And I think the biggest issue with our outage was lack of knowledge and communication
Payment.
between our internal point of contact and the hosting provider. So something weird happened there, but my recent sites that I've been building, I'm paying, I think I just paid $36 a month for an annual contract with a domain. And that's really basic hosting. If like thousands of people were hitting that website at the same time, it probably would have problems. So that's the other thing you pay for is
Well, that's
more
more
resources.
Than $36 a month. for
No,
12
$36
months.
a year.
Oh, a year.
In a
Okay.
year?
$36 for the year with a domain.
Well, how much is it the web hosting on DIQ?
That I don't know. Did they quote us at like 12 grand or something?
Jesus.
I think was it $1,200 a month or something? Or I mean, it was nuts.
But with that, they do all the changes, all the maintenance. So how does that?
You don't even really need that stuff, honestly. If
Maintenance is overblown. Yeah, it's like It's like installing a Windows update. Like this, the server works very similarly to your PC does on the back end. So it's like when patches come out, make sure they get installed. Like any web host worth their salt does that shit automatically.
Okay.
That's all included. So it's like, yeah, the white glove service. Like you hear companies in every industry talk about that type of thing, like being hands-on and responsive. And so that's what you're paying for. In the end, it's a way to squeeze some extra bucks out of their clients because then it's all in one.
It sounds like it should be handling.
Yeah, it's all in one place. You only have one point of contact.
Like to be a bit longer, which is important, but for the use, the amount of traffic we get and what we're using it for, it's insane overkill, and yeah, should not have been pushed through. It was just a panic move.
Yeah, definitely panic move. It's a little different, I think. Even like the City of Trinidad site probably needs to be a little more robust because there's essential services that are linked into that citizens need. But the tourism site, yeah, we're not seeing hundreds of thousands of users every day, and there's nothing critical on there. Obviously, we want it to be up all the time, but it doesn't need anything special.
So if we pay for hosting on DIQ, and that hosting also includes all the updates, all that kind of stuff, where is the line between how much we're paying them on contract for marketing and taking care of the website? Would they be double dipping on that, or is that?
A little bit.
Do you know what I'm asking? Yeah. Okay.
Well, they have their contract, which is the 60, right? And then they have the budget that they use to do things like the website hosting and all the ads and all that. That's what's going to be at what's left over that we don't automatically allocate to other things. The fund that's left in that pot is what they will have to work with for the year for our marketing budget. Right now it's at $67,947.
Yeah, so we need that money for advertising. The more we can keep in there, the better. That's how we actually go reach people and get them into Trinidad. So I'm not inclined to pull anything from that for hosting. We definitely need to get a clearer picture of what our actual host costs are going to be. Because as it stands, I think it's more than that 300. We can probably leave it at 300 and try and get it back to around there. I feel like that's a reasonable amount for a year that shakes out to $25 a month. I don't see any reason why we couldn't find a host that could do that. We may need to pay DIQ a little bit out of this to migrate it back out onto something else. And they might be annoyed
Yeah,
about
but websites don't go down like that often, and this site was going down a ton. I think that was lack of knowledge on how to handle something like that. Generally getting you can get like $6 a month hosting, and it doesn't go down like this. What we saw is not common, and you could find the cheapest hosting on earth, and it would be more reliable than what we were seeing. So I don't think we need to worry too much about it. And I'm someone that pays for more expensive hosting because it's important to me, but it's not that important. And it should be up like 99.8% of the time.
So
And never be down more than like an hour at a time, like once every couple years.
So as far as this goes, correct me if I'm wrong, we want to leave it at what it is and work within that budget.
Yes.
Okay. We can do that. The next thing on there is training and travel. That is the line item that the Governor's Conference comes out, the Governor's Tourism Conference, the Tour and Travel Expo that's happening in March. That travel will come out of that, and any other, like the first year we were here, I did the media bank, or not media thing, it was that thing I went to Denver to try to get people here in the winter. Anything like that comes out of that training and travel. There's $5,000 in there. The next is trolley fuel and maintenance. Again, we pulled up the expenses for last year. I think we actually spent a little more than that on the maintenance, but there were some things that we should not have to repeat for next year. So we did leave it at 5,000 for gas and, oil changes and such. And then other miscellaneous would be whatever is left in that fund to use for miscellaneous items throughout the year. And that's what I have. That's the budget.
It all seems pretty reasonable to me. Basically just running it back. This is $100,000 less. Is that correct?
That she projected $400,000. Yeah,
Mhm.
she said we are not anywhere near where they thought we'd be. Yep. So we're working with a smaller budget.
So that means what we've been doing advertising hasn't worked, or?
Not necessarily, because it's a nationwide thing. It's the entire state of Colorado. It's not just Trinidad. Even like I work for a multi-million-dollar cannabis corporation that is cutting every corner they can right now because they're not making the money they're supposed to. They have 21 locations across Colorado. So it's not just like Trinidad. It's the whole, nobody's going anywhere.
Well, I can't see, and it's just a personal opinion, why what we have been doing, the magazines and the few things and the stuff, and what they've been doing, how it could be any better. I mean, I think again, another year of it. I'm impressed with the digital, and even though I know squat about it. I would like some traditional stuff, but until we get more money, there's no sense in even discussing it. So.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately all we can do is look at the data that we have, and everything DIQ is reporting is trending in the right direction in terms of getting more people onto the website, seeing that search traffic and the social media engagement. That's what you want to see, and that's intel that we didn't have when we're placing magazine ads and stuff. So.
And, even with the losses, my losses year over year from last year to this year was a lower percentage than the previous years. Yeah. So we've been working at a loss for the last 3 years, but the losses are getting smaller and smaller.
Well, you'll have to admit, we're not spending, even with everything they're doing, a lot of money on marketing. There's, I see ads for the state of Texas, for Georgia and this stuff, on this, and then also on TV and stuff. I mean, they're spending buttloads of money.
Well, yeah, state level is always going to be different than a city. And especially
even Colorado, though, I never saw them spending tons of it.
They are spending money, but you're not going to see it.
Yeah, they're spending it
because you're here. Yeah.
Well, this is true.
But yeah, they definitely market aggressively. Speaking of the state, this is not really related to the budget, but state OEDIT was down while a contractor shooting video on Fisher's Peak this week, and I think somewhere around town.
Yeah.
That'll be coming out in the spring. So in time for next tour.
There was somebody here Saturday was shooting. Maybe that's what it was. Good at Market.
Could be.
Oh, it was. Who's the guy that didn't come to the meetings?
Oh, Montoya. Jake
Yeah,
Montoya.
because he said he didn't know he was supposed to. So.
Oh, that's
And he called me.
That's for us.
Yeah.
We're paying him.
Yep. There was that lady that did the article in the German magazine, which I'm excited about that. I think there's things that need to be done that a person needs to be paid to do. Because if we had a tour operator, if we had local ranches that were hospitality based, we could get so many people.
Yeah. Maybe.
But, okay, so anything else on this budget? I know we kind of skimmed over the top section. I know, Jason, you said something about the radio. I do think that I think having the radio advertising there, it's sort of like radio advertising. I wouldn't say it's really advertising, I'd say more promotional stuff for what we're doing. But as far as like communication with the locals, being that the locals here are so much older, I think that's a good way to reach them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that, and if we need to, that can reach a broader regional market because they have their station coverage is into New Mexico and around Colorado. So things like promoting Santa Fe Trail Days, we hit the radio with that stuff for sure.
My issue with it was that if you look at the breakdown of what DIQ spent for the year on like Facebook and Instagram advertising, it was also $6,000. So we're spending the same amount on radio as we are on really our main driver to bring people into town. So that's where I have an issue with it, because one is at least have a chance to bring new tourism into town, but local radio is not going to bring new tourism, and that's my personal main goal. Whether that's the main goal of the board or not is different, but just my thought.
And I agree that the radio is not going to have an impact outside of the regional area, but I believe that I feel like part of our business here is to bring in support from locals as well, into kind of communication. And as far as like communication with local audiences, I feel we have a chance of doing that with
You froze up for a
radio.
minute.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, I feel like what we're doing here is communication with our residents and our business partners. And like radio might not have a big impact outside of the area, but as far as communication with the people that live here about what's going on and what we're doing and our actual functions, I feel like radio would be a benefit to us there. And that, I don't know if you remember Brian last meeting was saying that we do need to work on our communication, so I think that they would find value in that as well.
Yeah.
Poor Brian.
I agree. Y'all still there?
Yep.
We're here.
Yes.
You guys froze for about a minute or two, about 2 or 3 minutes back. Seems to be okay now.
The wind's blowing here in Trinidad, so the internet doesn't work.
Of course it is.
All right. Anything else on this sheet? No? Okay.
So
I'm
you're
okay
gonna-
with it.
You're going to take this to Sharon?
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this with our changes. I'm going to bring it to our meeting next Thursday. We're going to vote on it, have it officially in the minutes, and then I'll give it to Cheryl.
Sounds good to me.
Hopefully that'll be on time. I forget what she said the deadline was. I think it was like the 13th. And our meeting's on the 10th. So we'll be cutting it close, but we'll get it in. All right. Well, that's all I had. If we're good with this,
And,
we're good.
I'm not going to be here next Thursday, and I would suggest on the agenda, I'm not going to be here. I'd love to hear Jason's experience on going to the governor's.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Yeah, like a little report on that too.
Yeah, I'll put together a little write-up on some notes for that.
Good. And then the city planner asked to be in our next meeting, so that he'll be in there as well. I forget what he said he had to talk to us about. There's something.
You say city planner?
Mm-hmm.
We
His
have a
name is
city planner?
Nelson.
I didn't know we had a city planner.
I think he's
Yeah.
new. I haven't met him. Let's
He's
see,
been here for 3 months, I think.
Nelson.
Interesting.
Jeez, what's his name?
Is it Paul something or Matt?
Oh, maybe it's, I don't know. Nicholas. Nicholas Mason. Nick Mason, that's his name. He's the
Oh,
city
he's
planner
already
for
with-
Trinidad. Hmm?
What'd you say, Jason? He's already
He was already with the city.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I guess maybe he got a promotion. There's a production company that's interested in filming in Trinidad. He's gonna come talk to us about that. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we ought to get a film commission here. There's so many great spots for shooting movies and TV shows. They got one in Amarillo and they get people down there, and there's a whole lot more cool stuff here.
Right? We're
You
close.
guys are muted for some reason.
We are muted. What'd you do, Joe? Sorry.
There you go.
All right. Anything else?
My only thing would just be if we want to get more specific on the recreational front, or we want to do that at a later time. We have our bucket of money for it, which is fine. At some point, we should get specific on recommendations there.
The way I saw in my head of this going down with those extra buckets would be we would have somebody like the Parks and Recs people come and say, we would like some money for this trail or this thing that we're working on or this program. And then we would take that specific thing with an amount and send it to City Hall or council
Yeah, that's a
out of that bucket.
meeting where they tell us what their priorities are. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did attempt that once already. But yeah, just
I think we could bring all three one at a time. I think we should try that.
yeah, that's fine. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm good.
All right, me too. Anything else, guys? No? All right, we're good to go then.
Okay.
See y'all next
Have a good
week.
one.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.